Well, good afternoon in Madrid. Good morning here in Michigan. I am here with my friend Pablo, not from Madrid or Michigan, but from Pueblo, Mexico. How are you today?
Hi. I'm fine. I just arrived in beautiful Madrid to see my kids in my way to the Prague conference for HLB conference.
Fantastic. Well, we really appreciate you taking a little time. We're really excited to chat. And I just want to start off by saying, tell us about you, not the firm, not the practice, just tell us about you. You are, I think, among the most interesting people that I've met. I've often
I
referred
appreciate
to you as a Latin America James Bond. And so if you want to start us
that.
off with some of your spy stories or any of those sorts of things, we'd all appreciate it.
Well, I do appreciate Chip, the James Bond thing. It's going to be farther from the truth, but there's a couple of things that might be interesting. Once I see myself, I'm a Mexican national, born and raised in Mexico. Spent a year or so in my early 20s up in Connecticut with a very nice family trying to learn English. It didn't work out well, to be honest, but it's a work in progress. I'm a father of two. I'm a husband of lollies. I'm an avid golfer, CPA. I have a tax degree. I got a PhD in tax in Mexico. But most of all, to be honest, I see myself as a family man, basically. Even though, CPAs, we're always working on our stuff. But I found out that I can work on my stuff and be a parent and a husband and a friend at the same time. So this is me, and that's what and I'm an 11 handicap, so not that good, but I do enjoy. I do enjoy around now and then.
Well, I am a 30-some handicap. I enjoy it as well. Now, for me, we call it Dutch golfing. In
I
Michigan,
know.
the Dutch are notoriously good at getting bang for their buck. So I try to take as many swings as possible for my greens fees.
maybe another if I may, Chip. There's
Mhm.
a one thing that maybe it's a distinctive fact in my personality that I just happened to recently discuss with a friend a couple of days ago. We're having this very nice conversation about ourselves and our families, etc. And he told me that he remembered 10 years ago that I told him right after my second heart surgery, I had two,
Mm.
that the only thing that heart surgery left with me was perspective. So I see myself as a individual with some different perspective on things, not because I'm smart, just because I had this incredible experience, maybe.
Mm. That's excellent. So I want to touch just a little bit more on what you talked about. We think about work-life integration. There's a concept called work-life balance, which is it almost seems like a sort of separateness. It sort of sounded like you had found that key to sort of to try to integrate all of it together. Tell me about that just a bit.
So when COVID arrived and during the pandemic, the key word and the word you should have been using at the firm at work level with your friends was work-life balance, which made sense at the time. But eventually we found out that it was not about balance. It was more about integration because you cannot stop being what you are. And being what you are is both. What you are in terms of your individual, your personality, your family, your friends, what you do, and your work. So it made no sense to me to distinguish like why should we balance what at the end of the day is the same thing. It is more like integration. So working from home during COVID gave me this new perspective that didn't, because I was struggling with this balance thing, and all of a sudden something came up like, no, let's integrate our lives
Mm.
on what we do here and what we do with our clients, with our staff, with our collaborators, partners, etc., clients, of course. So since COVID, we never actually returned to the office. We returned like in a hybrid scheme, but at the firm, with my kids, with my wife, we decided to integrate our lives
Mm,
using both instead of fighting or trying to balance things. Balance things, being CPAs, by the way, balance things is a natural thing for us. It's,
mm,
debits and credits. No, it is all the same. I have found out that it's easier, more efficient, less time consuming, less anxiety. I'm less anxious when
mm.
I did understand that integrating my life among all these things works out perfectly.
I think it's
I mean,
extraordinary.
that's for me. I don't know. Sorry, I don't know if that works for everyone. I would encourage everyone to try not to balance things, but to integrate them.
I think that's extraordinarily wise. We didn't talk about it the same way when I started, but I remember some of the senior partners when I first began being active, networking, being out in the community, and their advice to me was try to include my wife in as much of that as possible. That way I wasn't taking away from my time with her. Some of the times when I went out and work, it wasn't always appropriate. But as I met other people who also brought their spouses to some of the events, the spouses actually became friends. And what I found is not only did it keep me in better standing at home, but those relationships between two couples were often stronger than just a relationship between Chip and a client. So it was really interesting.
Yes, you just nailed it because it is not easy. I mean, because you and I talk about this like 3 or 4 years afterwards, but it wasn't easy, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
We struggled a bit. At home, we did struggle. But at the end of the day, the struggle of the family, you came out of the trouble stronger, like like a better family, more integrated family, even at work. So it is not easy, but it worked. It worked out fine.
I agree. All right, let's switch gears a little bit and let's talk about the practice. So, the tax CPA side of things, tax PhD, what do you do from the tax side of things on a day-to-day basis? How do you get charge hours?
I get worried. So so it, so my practice, where I see it as a managing partner in my firm, and my practice has moved or evolved through the past, I have to say, maybe in the past 10 years or so, to only deal with international engagements, international clients that already have businesses in Mexico or are thinking about moving or growing their business into Mexico. My day-to-day work is trying to solve issues, answering questions, guide my clients, advise my clients on how to do business in Mexico, which it is a real challenge. Not because they don't understand how, or because I don't understand how to explain, because there is a challenge going to a different country
Mm,
and doing business. It is complicated. There's a cultural thing. There's a business cultural thing. There is a idiosyncrasy thing. And this is what I do every day. Taxes are the same all over the world. You earn money, you have to pay taxes. So what I do try is to explain the taxes in the more efficient, easy way to international clients. And it's time consuming, it's demanding, but Chip, it's I mean, I love it. It's what I do every day since very early in the morning. Maybe the biggest problem is the time zones, because
mm,
in Mexico we have like two, but in the
mm-hmm.
US you may have four. You have Pacific, you have Mountain, you have East, you have Central. I get up very early in the morning and I go to bed very early at night sometimes. That's interesting also.
It is. So speaking of time zones, let's maybe switch to the firm. So you're personally officed in Pueblo, which I think is that 2 hours by flight south of Mexico City, give or take a little bit.
Maybe less than that. So it's more like a 40-minute drive from Mexico City to the Gulf of Mexico to the east,
Mm-hmm.
40-minute drive plus traffic. In Mexico City, traffic is more like LA traffic, but worse.
Mm.
So depending on traffic, it could be like an hour, hour and a half, 2 hour drive from Mexico City to Puebla. So I go to Mexico City like 3 times a week because it's only 60 miles.
Not
I
as
have
long as I was
clients in
thinking.
Mexico. I have clients in Mexico, but I do prefer to live in Puebla because the quality of life is better. I sleep better. I get up early and maybe drive to Mexico City, spend the day there, and go back at night.
So,
My practice
hmm,
is in Puebla because I work like from home. On my private office is in Puebla, but we have 4 different offices in Mexico City because it's so big. Mexico
hmm.
City is huge. So depending where you are, we have 4 different offices. So you don't have to drive the whole city in 1 or 2 days. So you like choose a place and go there.
So tell me about the firm itself. We've heard a bit about your role in your tax practice. Uh, Traditional consultancy, CPA type things. What all does the firm do?
So, well, HLB Mexico, it's a federation of firms, and we cover the whole country. We have 20, 24 different offices around the
Mm,
country. So we cover north, northeast, central, south, southeast, and west, the country. What we do typically in Mexico, audit and accounting or bookkeeping or tasks, like you call it, and it's a very good definition, to be honest, transaction advisory services, which include sometimes accounting, bookkeeping,
mm,
payroll, etc. So audit and tasks is the big service offering for us. We do have a very big tax practice, and it's growing because taxes are what they are. You do need advice on taxes. And we cover a big M&A practice. Uh, Mexico, it's an investment country. We do not refer work to the rest of the world, not necessarily,
mm.
but receive work. So our M&A practice is growing, and we are more like maybe 700 professionals in the country. Maybe I lost count. 49 partners, 50 partners, Mexico. I'm the HLB Mexico chair, which comes with the work but not the benefit. So I have to say, it's not complaint to my partners, but it is only work. So basically, I would say it's accounting, audit, and tax. We're switching, and you know about this because you work with us with HLB and the new strategy. We're trying to kind of have a mindset of advisory mindset, moving to a more wider, deeper relationship with our clients. This doesn't necessarily mean we will leave audit behind or task behind, or we're trying to change our minds on the advisory mindset. But basically, I would say is transaction advisory services, tax, and audit.
Excellent. All right, let's talk a little bit about some of the current events. Before COVID, there was such an emphasis from the U.S. perspective on offshoring. We were trying to not just offshore source things, but we were trying to one source things. So if we could buy everything from a company in China or India or the Philippines, that was the most efficient way, we thought, especially when there was no trouble in the supply chain. And of course, with COVID, there's lots of trouble in the supply chain. There's been other issues, and so from the U.S. perspective, we have thought about this idea of firstly going back to dual sourcing at least rather than one sourcing so that big companies weren't dependent on someone in particular, but also going away from the offshoring and sticking to the continent of North America, where we just seem to find more reliable sources that we could depend on, that perhaps not quite as cost effective, but you don't save any money when you can't build cars because you can't get your parts. So that's what we think about from our perspective. Are you seeing the same sort of thing in Mexico? Are you seeing a lot of foreign investment or an increased amount of foreign investment, or the same?
So it is great that you ask. Yes, a lot. For us, how funny it is, but for us, we recently had the Latin America conference in Puebla with the HLB network, and our discussion for 2 days was the Mexico moment, meaning we're seeing a lot of investment from all over the world, primarily the US, of course, the United States, and Germany. Germany, because Mexico is a hub for the automotive industry,
Mm.
and the US, because the US is everywhere. It's investing in everything. For us, the Mexico moment means nearshoring. Without getting into political analysis, which I do not understand, so I do not attempt respectfully to understand or to talk about. There are things going on in the world, and Mexico has benefited from that. So I'm seeing a lot of interest and a lot of investment, which are two different things. So I do receive a lot of questions, queries about how to do, what to work, where to invest, or companies actually already investing in Mexico, which could have been in two ways. One, without asking, big mistake. Two, already asked and coming down here. What's happening? Again, the automotive industry in Mexico is huge. The manufacturing industry, manufacturing is huge. And recently, we have seen a big increase in software development.
Hmm.
So big tech companies coming down here, hire engineers working on software to deal with international clients, mainly from the United States. So the nearshoring thing, it's what's going on now. I have had in the last maybe 18 months, 4 different conferences where I have been kindly invited to discuss nearshoring and how to deal with it from an American point of view, doing business in Mexico. So this is the next big thing. It's a lot of companies investing in Mexico. When I do say the next big thing, it's because it is. Even, I mean, we have seen even China companies coming to Mexico and hiring Mexican nationals and building companies on all kinds of sectors and industries, because they do realize that the largest marketplace in the world is not Europe and it's not Asia, it's North America. And in North America, Mexico, geographically, Mexico is North America. Culturally, it's Latin America.
Yeah.
Not geographically, it's Mexico, the US, and Canada.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the largest marketplace in the world. And everybody knows that. So, and they're coming down here to make huge investments. So what we have seen in the past 2 years, even more so maybe the past 6-7 months, it's a lot of investment from the US.
So let's think about if you had one thing you wanted folks to take away from today that was the best advice you can imagine for someone considering investing into Mexico. I heard you say ask first. Maybe that's the right answer. But what is the one piece of advice that you would say, do this first? It's the most important thing.
Okay, don't mean to be rude, but ask first. And it takes time in Mexico, Chip. We have a lot of business in Mexico, and it's growing, and it's efficient. We have a perfect functional legal system. We have a perfectly functioning tax system. It is just that I have seen, and I only deal with international clients now, it is what I do. The frustration comes on the timing. So I've been in the US, and maybe a client can tell me, and they have, that they can set up a company and get it ready and operational in a couple of days. Well, down here, it might take you 8 to 12 weeks. Because there are several reasons for that. We're Latin Americans, and the way we do business is different, totally different from the Anglo-Saxon guys. 2, we don't have a problem on money laundering. It is real. So getting things around, getting approved, getting registers and certificates takes time because there's a deep research on companies doing business. So when companies comes to us to invest or to form entities or subsidiaries in Mexico, my first recommendation is take your time. Do not get frustrated. It will take some couple of weeks. We will get it done, but you need to be patient. We have discussed this, and I remember you and me talking about this last year, 2 years ago, here in Madrid, actually. But the advisory mindset, how to work with partners around the world, you have to understand the difference in business culture. We all want the same, we all advise on the same. It is just that we understand our marketplace different. So I would give this like big takeaway for the audience. Don't get frustrated. Ask. It will take more time than in the US, most certainly, but it is a very well legal place to invest and to do business with. Just it takes some time.
Got it. That's good advice. All right, switching gears to the tax side of things, what's the thing that you think surprises people about the Mexican tax system? What do you find yourself having to instruct people about most who come in from the outside world?
Well, good question. It's cheaper than in other countries. So when you look at it as in terms of income tax, our income tax rate is bigger than in the US. You guys have like a 21, we have a 30 income tax rate, and we have a 16% VAT, but we do not have a state tax or local taxes. We only have federal taxes. That's when it gets cheaper. So you in Mexico, you deal with the federal income tax, and then you deal with VAT, which is federal, and that's all, and that's it. So overall, when you analyze the tax impact on your business, you have to think pretty much in two: direct tax or indirect tax, and that's pretty much it. Of course, Social Security is there everywhere in the world, but you have to think in business in two. In the US and some other countries, I've seen there's a state tax, there's a local tax, there's a sales tax. For us, there's only two, and it's clear what you can do and what you cannot do in terms of tax deductions or taxable operations or taxable income. Our tax system is Latin, coming from France. We do have the same. France, Italy, Spain, Mexico, Latin America. It's quite simple. Income minus deductions. Pretty simple. I mean, a couple of things here and there in terms of the specifics, but all the tax system in Mexico is digital. The tax authority works by email. You don't have to go to the tax office at all, anytime. And the invoices are electronic, digital since 10 years ago. So it's very efficient in terms of how to deal with your taxes, how to pay your taxes. For instance, your annual tax return, it's already populated. You just have to look at it on the web. It's already there. You can make some changes if you want. If you do not, you just have to click on OK, and it's uploaded. It's efficient in terms of the process, and it's efficient in terms of impact, in terms of money. It's efficient.
Fantastic. All right. So I really appreciate your time. We've covered a lot of things. I want to wrap up with what is probably the most important question Americans would like to ask you. Salsa or guacamole?
Absolutely guacamole.
Ah, very good. That's what I was hoping you'd say.
Absolutely guacamole. I would like to. I do appreciate the time, Chip, you're taking to talk to me, and hope these few minutes the audience may find them useful. You can always reach out. Big suggestion would be always to ask first. Yeah. We're always there. By the way, and you know this, we have a 24-hour policy response. So if you shoot us an email asking whatever you need to ask, in the time frame of 24 hours, you will get an answer. And I'm the boss here. Remember, I don't have the benefits, but I'm the chair.
Yeah.
So somebody will respond.
Fantastic.